A domestic dispute ends in tragedy. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Sonia Shrivastava.
And I'm Patricia Villone. Thank you for joining us. A dispute over yard work turns deadly for a stepfather who was allegedly shot dead by his stepson last night. Today, Prince George's police are still looking for the suspect. CTV's Mikea Turner has the story.
Prince George's police identified this man, 27-year-old Antoine James, as a suspect in connection with the shooting death of his stepfather, an off-duty D.C. police officer who resided in Upper Marlboro. When neighbor Antoinette Jefferies arrived to her home on a steep hill in the Avalon last night, there were
more police cars than I've ever seen in one spot before.
Jefferies says she was shocked when she learned that a fatal shooting happened at the home of her neighbor, 46-year-old Joseph Newell, a veteran in the Metropolitan Police Department. She describes the family.
They're relatively new in the community, but I had met them very, very, very friendly people.
Officers responded to the 6700 block of Green Moss Drive about 8 p.m. last night after getting several calls about gunshots. Ricky Staten says he was in his yard when he heard them.
It was just unique. This is a very private, it's a gated community, and it was just odd. It was strange to hear those types of sounds, so very concerned.
At an afternoon press conference, Prince George's police revealed details about the chilling murder. They said that James allegedly shot Newell in the back several times after being asked to help out with yard work. Newell died on the scene.
I've already mentioned that the firearm used is not Detective Newell's service weapon. This entire murder was captured on surveillance videotape. We are not releasing that under any circumstances. It's evidence in the upcoming first-degree murder trial that will take place after we apprehend James, and it will not be released until then.
The assistant chief for the Metropolitan Police Department expressed condolences for Newell's family, followed by a message that he hopes James will hear.
If James is listening, the best thing that he can do is to turn himself in.
Now, James is being charged with first-degree murder, and county police say that he still remains on the loose. So anyone with information is asked to give police a call at Crime Solvers, and that number is 1-866-411-TIPS. In Palmer Park, I'm Mikea Turner, CTV News.
And officials say they believe James is still in the area and consider him to be armed and dangerous.
Well, 8 days after the twin bomb blast, authorities are slowly allowing residents and business owners, to the area. There is no word when the street will fully open where the bombing occurred. Sean Collier, the Slane, Massachusetts Institute of Technology police officer, was laid to rest today. Meanwhile, 19-year-old Dzhokhar Zarniev has been communicating with law enforcement by nodding and writing. He says his older brother and not any international terrorist group masterminded the deadly attack. And we should also mention that 8-year-old Martin Richard was also laid to rest today. Well, it's a notorious gang known both inside and outside of prison walls.
And Rochelle Metzger is joining us now with the details of a federal indictment that includes everything from drug trafficking to murder.
That's right, ladies, and officials say this is an insidious and extremely serious case. A federal investigation into criminal activity and corruption in the Baltimore City Detention Center and related facilities leads to the indictment of 25 alleged gang members and associates, including 13 correctional officers. Authorities arrested all but one of the suspects and executed surprise search warrants. The indictment unsealed today charges the guards, inmates, and alleged outside suppliers with federal racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy to distribute illegal drugs. Officials say since 2009, members of the Black Guerrilla family have used smuggled cell phones to coordinate criminal activity from inside the jail. During a press conference today, prosecutors said that corrupt correctional officers not only enabled but assisted in the smuggling of contraband.
The lead defendant in this case, Tavon White, was a leader of the Black Guerrilla family who's been incarcerated in Baltimore City for approximately 4 years. During the time that Mr. White has been incarcerated in Baltimore City, the indictment alleges that he ran the operations of the Black Guerrilla family from behind bars and that he corrupted a number of correctional officers by developing personal relationships with them, by developing sexual relationships with them, and by paying them in order to facilitate gang activity behind bars.
Jailed BGF members were free to order sanctions against inmates who refused to submit to their authority. to recruit new gang members and to make significant amounts of money from the sale of contraband. A portion of the prisoners' profits were paid to BGF leaders, and this guaranteed these violent offenders a position of authority once they returned to the streets.
99% of our correctional officers do their jobs with integrity, honesty, and respect. Today's indictment shows that our department will not stand idly by and let that fraction of a few bad actors affect the security of our institutions and our professional staff. Nor will we allow them.
Unlike elsewhere in Maryland, Baltimore City jails do not require employees to take off their shoes during screenings. U.S. Attorney Rod Rosenstein says an ongoing federal task force is looking into issues in Maryland prisons. And Secretary Maynard also said that they've changed the leadership at the detention center and that they're moving toward a standardization of policy in their jails. And I'll reiterate what he said about 99% of correctional officers, men and women, do their jobs, are honorable and respectable. But I think it's interesting to note that all 13 of the correctional officers listed here are women. Nearly a third of them, over a third of them, had a sexual relationship with this gang leader, and a third of them were impregnated by him. Now, we're told that 60% of correctional officers in Baltimore City are women, and most of the inmates are men. I asked Secretary Maynard if there is a policy in place prohibiting inmates and guards from having relationships. He said there is. It's cause for termination. I asked, well, are any of these correctional officers listed, were they terminated? He said no. But he said there is this federal task force that will be looking into their policies, and it's something that they're definitely looking into.
Wow, very interesting.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rochelle. Well, an Upper Marlboro community has a bit of cleaning up to do after it was hit by a tornado. Trees were snapped in half and uprooted in the Marlboro Ridge subdivision off of Ritchie Marlboro Road last week. The siding on some of the homes were also ripped off. Officials say all three houses were damaged. The National Weather Service says the tornado touched down around 7:25 in the evening on Friday.